Hello! So it's been 3 years since I was last here. This is the Home Computer Museum in Helmond in the Netherlands, and a lot has changed since last time. So I'm going to take you on a quick tour and then we'll get into some nitty-gritty. So let's go. Loads of rare computers. This has actually got a vector display, so we'll look at that later. That is very impressive. That's Battlestar Galactica there as well. We've got machines which we looked at last time. We've got an Aesthedes system here which is still working impressively. Atari 800. So many machines, and look at all these, look at this room, it's filled with machines, and there's machines in all these boxes as well. It's just absolutely packed. This is a Holborn System 6100, it's a prototype of a prototype, it's made of wood. There's more over here, but this one is extra special. Over here we've got all these systems, you know, Bondwell, IBM Portable PC, Commodore machines over here, and then down here, past all these Amigas, and the Sinclair C5, we have the Aesthedes computer, which we looked at before, but it was not working before. Now it is 95% working, so we will have a look at that later. And then we've got the biggest CDI collection in the world, I believe, which, look at this. It's got a prototype CDI over here, which I have never seen. Looks like it's out of some sort of war. It's even got like a carry case up there, all this software. And then over here, this machine actually runs dial-up internet, and it's connected to a network here which links up to archive.org, and you can just type in any site from 1996 and it'll bring up how it was supposed to at that time, which is great. This is a sizable and bloody impressive big box PC game collection. There's just so much nostalgia looking at some of these titles. I haven't seen these for years. Got the old Prince of Persia boxes there, Prince of Persia. Great game. So, let's take a more detailed look at some of the things we've just seen.
Now, if these panels didn't remind you of the LCAR's Star Trek interface, then you are absolutely insane. So thank you to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this video. Available for free on iOS, Android and Windows, download using the link below, or simply scan the QR code and join the fight. A free-to-play open-world MMO awaits in which you command a starbase on the front lines of the Trek universe. With online events and narratives featuring Seven of Nine as she travels across the galaxy as an outsider, and characters like Worf or Picard, there is a wealth of opportunity, exploration and fun to be had here. Destroy enemies, level up ships, recruit crew and turn the galaxy around. Simply download using the link below or scan the QR code on screen to get involved right now. Make it so.
So, this computer actually came to us back in 2020, I guess. You know, it's a great system. It's the very first graphical basic machine from 1975. It's the Tektronix 4051. So when we got it, well, obviously the first thing we do is turn it on. Now, sometimes we check it out, but this time we were like, okay, just turn it on. We'll see what happens. Well, actually nothing. Completely nothing. The power LED went on and that was it. This is not just a standard CRT screen. This is called a memory CRT, which essentially is it's like an Etch-a-Sketch. So it burns everything in the front layer, and it will stay there. So the system is free again of doing stuff while the image is still there. And it's really, really rare to find a screen like this. It's impossible. These screens are not produced anymore. And thankfully we contacted the Tektronix Museum in the US, and they were really happy that we were able to restore this, well, as much as we could. And they sent us a new screen, a new front plate for the screen, and they sent us a special ROM cartridge so we can actually start up software. And it still works, but we can't do this every day, because if this screen burns out, there's no way we can replace it. For this special occasion, I will turn it on. So, there you go. So, now the screen is completely blank, so it's powered on, and it's basically drawn. So the first thing I need to do is reset the screen, which I can do by pressing homepage. We're talking about 1975, they already had a homepage over here. So homepage, then the screen goes blank. There you go. So the first thing I'm going to do is to select, or say I have to find on port 51, which is the backboard, I'm loading program number 8. So it now puts its memory address to that, and now I can load this from that port, so port 51 again, which will take a while, a few seconds. There's busy light over here, the I/O is running. So there you go, and I can do run, because it is basic we're in. So right now it will clear the screen, and there's some nice text over there. To show the capabilities of the screen, text is not very special, but I will do a drawing. So I will run number 19. So, and as you can see, you saw the light flashing up, and it's basically drawing like an Etch-a-Sketch. And right now, the basic prompt is back again there. So we're back at the Aesthedes, and this time I'm pronouncing it the right way, apparently. Aesthedes is it called in English. Since the last video with Nostalgia Nerd, we got a lot of people contacting us about this computer. Especially Chris Roberts and Donna Lewis were two people from the UK who contacted us. Chris Roberts worked at a company called Smiths & Roberts Associates Incorporated, and Donna Lewis is on the Wikipedia article of the Aesthedes, and she's the one actually on the picture. She called us and said, I really want you to fix this computer so I can, for the last time in my life, can sit at my baby. So the first thing we did was to check the power supplies, because we didn't know anything about this. The only thing we knew is there are 3 power supplies in there and they're leaking. There was some goo leaking out of the power supplies, and we actually have one spare one now. So there are 3 of these monsters inside of here, 2 times 12 volt and 1 times a 5 volt. We contacted Delta Electronica, which was the company noted on the back of these power supplies. You can barely see it here, but it's there. I contacted them and I asked if they still have information about this or could tell me anything about it, and especially what the goo was that came out of it. And a day later they mailed me back with the whole history of these power supplies. The goo was some kind of protective material, which wasn't the problem to get it starting. But if we didn't get them started, here are the technical schematics of these power supplies. So we got those. So we grabbed an ATX power supply, and we found out this 5 volt power supply, this is also 5 volt, uses 40 amps. And finding a 5 volt line with 40 amps in a new power supply is impossible. So we grabbed our most powerful power supply, a 1000 watt power supply ATX, which could do 32 amps on the 5 volt line. And we connected all that stuff up to the computer. We used the Molex for that. The fun thing was the power supply, because it was an ATX, the ATX injector was beeping every second. So you can imagine we have this computer with all kinds of cables going through the back, and every second was beep, beep, beep. It was literally on life support at the point. It was really crazy to see. Obviously, when we put all the power in, a lot of smoke came out. All tantalum capacitors blew up. Let's replace that, and that's how we managed to repair all boards simply because all the tantalums blew up. Then we figured out 2 of the 3 screens weren't working at all. We actually found 3 parts that were broken of the 3 monitors, and since then we never saw those parts again. So I think we bought the last ones. And then the next challenge was how to connect the thing, because in the back there are 6 video cards. And there's a whole lot of flat cables connecting different cards to each other, so we have to really figure it out. What we did was using a microscope to find out which connectors probably would have had a connector connected to it, if there was only rust on it or corrosion. And then figuring out the following traces to see what output they probably would have given. So first thing we turned on, things were working. The keyboard was lighting up, but the hard disk failed. So we contacted the daughter of Mr. Claessens, and she said there's one at the Institute of Sound and Vision in the Netherlands. So I called them and said, listen, you have an Aesthedes, right? Yeah, it's somewhere in our basement. Great, can I have your hard disk? Sure. So I drove there and grabbed their hard disk. I also found out they had a lot of documentation. I'll put this down. We digitized them all and we uploaded them all to archive.org with a lot of other documentation about Aesthedes, because this was the first time we saw a thing working. Thankfully, they were kind enough to give us the hard disk or lend us the hard disk. That was the first time we saw the Aesthedes booting. I know you guys, you want to see this one working. I have to add one thing. There are still a few problems with this machine. One screen is broken again. It's not working at the moment. It doesn't power on at all. This will normally show all layers. There are 64 layers, and this will show the combination of all 64 layers together. However, we put this screen to this screen. This screen normally gives the zoom screen, so you can zoom in and zoom out on a particular item. The right screen is the current layer you're working on. So the left screen is only using for zooming and not really needed for work. These monitors, this one normally is connected RGB with a sync on green. The right monitor is connected RGB with a sync on green. The middle is connected RGB with a sync separated coming from 3 video cards combined. So the middle screen is scrolling a lot, but it is working, it is showing at least something, but it's not fully functional, and we're now waiting for a service engineer who has the technical schematics of this thing. He found it at his attic, and hopefully he will help us to figure out why the screen is not stable at the moment. So I will turn it on now, a special for you because it's using a lot of power.
Fans.
It's all fans. So you can actually see immediately the problem. The sync problem is not. Yeah. The bottom we have 64 layers. You can select them and you can do the RGB coloring over there.
Cool.
The middle screen is the current project command screen, and the right screen is about the current project. So if you have a project open, the file manager is in there, loading and saving stuff, it's all done in that screen. So I'm now on layer 0. Layer 0 is the only layer that can have a background color. So I can now set a background color. Okay. This is the color screen, the color wheel. So I can select blue, or I can select blue, or pink, or red, or yellow, or green. Cool. Okay. But I can also do, for example, I want more red now. And I can slowly turn that into yellow. And I can also do, for example, less green. And you can see the number.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But we're also missing the pointing device. We don't know. This one is a prototype which is not working anymore. However, there are a few things we can actually draw. And one is a polygon. So we select polygon. It will ask for give number. So how many corners we want. Now, let's say for fun 8. So I press 8 and I press return. And there's a polygon on this screen because I'm currently on this layer. I can fill this. So I can do fill, all fill. And now it's filled with whatever color, I don't know yet. I can also do squiggly line. So let's go to layer 2. This now, you can still see this one is still there. But there's on layer 1, or I'm now on layer 3 actually. This one is gone because now I'm on a layer and we don't have anything on there. I can also do something like a spiral, and then I can just fill in numbers, I guess. Radius, second radius, point per radius, I have no idea. Revolution, I'm not a designer. I just press things now. But I get a squiggly line. Mm-hmm. Yay! Cool. So now we have a squiggly line and a polygon of 8. Yeah. So that's all I can do.
And the world's most advanced computer-aided design system, Aesthedes.
So we have these computers in this area are all connected to the internet. A few of those you actually have to dial up to the internet, and we're not faking, so we're actually using an old PBX over here, which dials up to a Linux machine and then uses a Windows NT4 network to connect to the internet. We're using this computer. This computer is from 1996, or at least the hardware inside is from 1996. You would be having a lot of friends if you had this computer back in 1996. It has a Pentium 133 MHz, 128 megabytes of memory, and as you can see, it has a Plex writer in it, it has a zip drive in it, it has everything you can possibly need for a computer from 1996, and of course Windows 95. So we have the original Windows 95 with the internet pack. So I'll show you. We currently don't have internet. So no internet. Sorry, doesn't work right now. Because you have to dial up. So let's do that. So we're dialing up to the internet. This is how it used to go back in the 90s. And you just hope that nobody would pick up the phone downstairs because you had a problem. Thankfully, we don't have phones connected yet, so nobody can pick up a phone now. Every computer here is connected to the internet, but will show the internet from the year that the computer is produced. As said, this computer is 1996, so it will show internet pages from 1996. We're currently connected now to the internet, and it will ask me for Microsoft Messenger, because we actually have Microsoft Messenger running in the museum. We run our own server. Everybody can use MSN on all computers over here and chat to each other. And we see there are a lot of people actually online today. Unreal and the Mac Fan and the Girl Power and the Bonzi Buddy is online. They're all computers connected to the internet now. So let's go to the internet. So currently we still have the blank page. So let's do the BBC.
Yeah,
the BBC. So the BBC probably had a website back in 1996. So we're using a proxy, which is called the old net. You can also use it, and it will proxy the website and use the archives from webarchive.org. But because we are using this proxy, the browser doesn't know anything better that it gets data back from 1996. We're currently connected on 33K6. Nice. So this is the BBC. So about the BBC, let's see. Wow, the internet was really different back then. Look at that, the BBC at the heart of your home.
Wallace and Gromit, wow. what a time.
And back then you didn't go to Google. Google was still in beta, actually. It works, you can go, but you see a beta version. So most people used Alta Vista. Also works. So if you ever feel like you need to browse the internet from 1996, we're here for you, and we don't have a phone bill, so you can do that indefinitely. Yeah. This machine is now connecting to a Linux machine, so let's show the Linux machine then. So this is a simple Linux Red Hat 6.2. It runs KDE. It's not really special to show. I mean, everybody can see the screenshot back in the day. There's nothing fancy installed on it. So the Windows computer is dialing up on this one. We had to use IP change back in the day. There's no IP tables or fancy firewalling. It's IP change and PPP dial up. Which makes the connection between the Windows machine and here. This computer is connected to a local area network, which is all connected to one server eventually, and that's a real Windows NT4 server, and I'll show you that one as well. So this is a Windows NT4 server. I think this is Service Pack 1, also from 1996. It uses WinRoute to do the TCP IP routing to the internet. Also the DHCP is using WinRoute because that was the easiest way to do. Yeah, nothing special. It runs on a Pentium Pro, 200 megahertz. And it's the main server of this entire local area network, or retro local area network. It's also a domain controller, so every computer logs in to this domain, and this one has also several games on it on extra hard disk. So we can install it on all these computers we want to. Now, this one is just connected to the network. Right. The archive.org is using the proxy on the computers. So, I'll show you where to configure the proxy. Options. And from there you have connections, connect through a proxy server. There you have the proxies. So you have the old net, and secured is theoldnet.com. Both year is 1996.
Oh, that's what you have to do, right? You just put that in. Okay.
And don't use a proxy for web.archive.org because
'Cause
it will get us some kind of loop and it will never get the data. So, and this works all the time.
That's cool. Okay, good stuff.
It also works on your modern browser. You can actually do whatever in Google. You can just do this. And
I did not know that. That's really cool.